Hello again, Tiger friends. It's Meredith with Tiger Lily Resources, and we are continuing on our TigerTales journey of still on the history of Tiger Lily Resources and about to jump into some growth. So we've already covered probably the first 2 years of Tiger Lily. We got a lot to go still. I'm just coming up to 2015, July, right? So last I left off, my father dropped a bomb on me that it was time to come back home to St. Louis. So this was July 2015, end of July. I did make my way back home to St. Louis. Stayed actually with family, my mom and dad, for a little bit. Had a plan that it was going to be a couple of months. And my goodness, did the Lord have other plans. 2015 and 16 were probably the most challenging years of my life post darkness, which I still owe you that story, which I'll get to. So I knew when I came back to St. Louis that I was going to be bringing Tiger Lily with me. Now, mind you, everything was still going in Florida. I still had the shop. We still had the real estate company. We were still helping families, still hosting classes and stuff. I was monitoring and managing everything remotely. And things were okay. And little by little, the Lord kept shutting things down. No matter how hard I tried, it was like, nope, that one's off the books. Nope, that one's done. So 2016 was probably, again, one of the scariest times of my life. On a personal perspective, as far as like financially and everything, I pretty much lost everything that I had going for me. And I argued big time with my dad because I was like, hey, okay, so I listened to you. I came here to do this. And you're totally taking everything away from me. Like, what do I have left? Like, so now looking back, that was him completely building me to have complete and total trust in him. And now looking back, I can see all of the times, every single time he showed up. Granted, it was usually at the very last minute when I'm like, okay, I trust you, but can you please not wait until the last minute? It gives me a heart attack pretty much. So started Tiger Lily here in St. Louis area. Again, going forward with the single mom ministry. And it was just like trying to run uphill in snot, I like to say. It was just not getting momentum. And, it was just so different because in Florida, the motives and motivations, like I had mentioned in a previous videos, I forgot to start my timer. Starting now. Sorry, guys. Okay. Might run a little long. Oh, man, I'm 3 minutes in already. Okay. Anywho, the motives and motivations here in St. Louis were far different than in Florida. So in Florida, it was very much keeping up with the Joneses, keeping that external facade, looking like you got it all together, and then going home and falling on the floor and losing your mind. Well, here, there was just a whole different pride set here. And, women are, okay, we'll say tougher maybe, but I would say maybe a little more hard-headed, prideful, didn't want to admit that they needed the help. No, I'm fine. I'm good. And then they go home and fall on the floor and have a meltdown. So, I'm driving one day. I'm on my way to help a mama and bringing her some baby bottles for her 4-month-old baby girl. And I'm just, having a chat with my dad. And I'm like, why? Why is this so hard? I don't get it. And he gave me the story of the woman with the issue of blood. And basically was like, Meredith, she sought me out for one tiny touch of what I had because she knew that if she could just get to me, then I would bring her freedom. So he was like, you do the same. All right. So that was a huge burden off of me. Like, okay, I can, we'll get the word out that this is what we do. And whoever comes, that's who comes. That's who he is called into our circle of Tiger Moms. So I went with that notion for a while. And then probably end of 2016, probably. Yeah. I had kind of a bomb drop again. Wow, these bombs just keep dropping, huh? Kind of a bomb drop on me of bringing something back to my recollection, and with a full unveiled understanding of why this happened. So, I'm going to go back a little bit to a little bit of darkness of my life. So, when I had separated from my ex-husband now, my son's father. That was in 2009. And we did not have a very healthy relationship at all, a healthy marriage at all. It was actually quite toxic. We invited the devil into our relationship repeatedly. And I always would joke and be like, oh, you know how they say you ever dance with the devil? Well, I hosted his parties, literally. So I wasn't a stranger to the commercial sex industry. Actually, when I met him, I was freshly 21, and I was actually a dancer on the East Side, and I was cocktailing. That's how I met him. He was a DJ. I was a cocktail waitress, but I also had a second job, and I was a dancer. That is a whole other story that I will probably have to share next time. Well, I'll start it. 21. I was making a circuit with one of my girlfriends to find a second cocktailing job on the East Side, because you had to be 21 to work in the clubs over there, and we knew that we could make a good amount of money. So we hit the whole circuit, started in Sauget, Illinois, and anybody who knows that world knows what I'm talking about, and landed in Washington Park, Illinois, at a club called the Jewel Box. And this was probably like 4 o'clock or so. Filling out the application at the end of the bar, and I didn't know at the time, but I know now it was the owner. He comes up to me, and he is just so typical of a club owner, just slimy, sleazy. He comes up to me, and he looks over my shoulder, and I'm telling you now, I'm like, oh God, was he like the devil incarnate? And that was my entry. Okay, and I fell right into it. He walks up and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, duh, I'm filling out an application. And he was like, application for what? And I was like, oh, cocktail waitress. And he was like, you're not a cocktail waitress. And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm already working someplace else. I'm just looking for a second job. And he was like, no, you're a dancer. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I am so not a dancer. And he was like, yeah, you are. You're a dancer. Enemy right there, defining who you are, swapping your identity. And I was like, yeah, really, no, I'm not. He's like, you want to make a bet? Ooh, so you want to tell this 21-year-old full of vigor, I'll say, you want to make a bet? And I was like, yeah, fine, I'll make a bet with you. And yeah, don't ever make a bet with the devil, okay? So he was like, all right, you come back tonight, you dance one set for me, and you tell me that you're not a dancer. Well, fine. So I go home. I took him up on the bet. So I had already been kind of a party girl. I was out at the clubs all the time, so I already had pretty skimpy clothes. I wasn't a novice of being on stage. I danced in high school on the dance team. I was a cheerleader. I was in theater, so I already knew how to act, So I went home and I threw all my clothes in a bag, and I grabbed a bottle of vodka, and my friend drove me back out, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm doing this. But hey, I already said I was going to do it. So let's go. What's it going to do? And like I said, I was a crazy wild child. So when I was in college, we went on trips to Cancun, and crazy things happen in Cancun on stages, on islands. I was that girl. So I was fearless. So I go back and I get on stage, and changed my identity again. I was not myself. Obviously, you can't go on stage with your own name. So I changed my name to my alias, and I danced one set, and I made a lot of money in about 7 minutes. And I got off the stage and I said, yep, I'm a dancer. Just that easy. So it was the glitz and the glamour and the pretty, and it smelled good, and, the attention, and it was just, so that opened my door to the commercial sex industry. And I always said that I was one of the good girls. I didn't turn tricks when I was dancing. I was one of the good girls. I would drink, and I dabbled in a little bit of drug use. Yes, I did, because it goes hand in hand. But I was one of the good girls. I didn't break the rules. And so that progressed a little bit, but I started getting serious with my son's father. And I was like, I should probably not do this anymore if we are actually going to take this relationship anywhere. So I stopped. But we didn't leave the lifestyle at all. Again, he was still DJing. We were still out in the clubs. It was still party scene. So after I'm going to fast forward several years, we separate, and we finally get divorced between 2009 and 2011. Is when the separation and final divorce happened, actually on Valentine's Day, 2011. Woohoo! Happy Valentine's Day to me. So in that time, I went to the darkest place that I ever thought I could be in, because I reverted to something that I could control. And because everything in my life was out of control. My husband had left, my finances were a mess. He had drained our bank accounts. I had to basically beg the bank to fix negative draft fees and all this stuff. It was crazy. So I went back to something that I knew I could control, and it was sex. So I basically just abused that part. And then I was like, you know what? God gave this to me. Now, remember, I always knew God. I knew God. I was raised in church. Granted, I was raised in Catholic church. And so God to me was like 2 million miles away, but I knew he was there, and I knew I could call him and all that. So I was like, well, God gave this to me. I better put it to work. And I knew sex sold, and I knew I was about to be homeless if I didn't do something. So I was too old to put my tush back up on a stage. So I went darker. And now I am, at the 11-minute mark. So what a cliffhanger, huh? We're about to go into the darkness. So I'll save that for next update. And I'll get a little bit, not full details, but, let you know what happened and let you know where we're at now. So stay tuned. Sorry for the cliffhanger, but not. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode of TigerTales, where we venture down the slippery slope of sexual exploitation.